Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with the KTrain, where I talk with people who have helped me keep an eye on my vision. This guy is I don't really know how to describe him. He's you know crazy. Um, he's kind of a silverback gorilla. Kind of been just a major mentor of mine in the endurance space, and I have never traveled 140.6 miles swimming, biking, and running faster than I have with this guy. So it's my good mate, Alan Greening. Um, Silverback, mate. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure, my friend. Happy to be here.
Awesome, man. So I kind of want to just go ahead and just dive right in. I joke that you are a silverback, kind of an old fart, but you've been doing endurance sport, you know, for quite a while. So can you go just take us back to the beginning? When did you get into endurance sport? Why did you get into it? And you know, just kind of talk us through those your triathlon and endurance sport beginning.
Yeah. So, of course, it's a long story, right? But I'll try to sort of, condense it just a little bit because, as you said, I'm an old fart, so I have a whole lot of time to talk about it. So I grew up in Scotland, on the west coast of Scotland, and all we did there was play football, real football, right? Not the throw ball stuff that you guys do here.
Oh, that game you play with your feet?
With your feet, exactly. That's why it's called football, right? Yeah,
like
yeah. Finally getting it. So it basically that was all you did. If you grew up in Scotland, you were kind of on the poor side. You played football. If you had any money, you played golf, right? So we didn't have any money, so I played football.
Okay.
So and so growing up, that's all I did. And when I was 18, I was playing for the Scottish under-18 national team, and that was kind of cool. And so I was kind of like, hey, I'm going to be a footballer when I grow up. That was sort of my idea, my plan. It didn't quite work out. I had a few sort of professional trials and stuff, and was just like, no, I'm good, but I'm not great. So I'm not kind of sure if I'm going to make this. But I love playing. That was my thing, and so I just kept playing, played through college, and when I was doing my master's degree, so I went after I graduated undergrad. I ended up in this little town close to Manchester called Alsager.
Okay.
Yeah, so crazy little town, Crewe and Alsager College. It was affiliated with Manchester University. I'm doing my master's degree in exercise physiology, and I was living about 5 miles away from the exercise phys lab, and I was living out in this, out in the middle of nowhere, and I didn't have a car at the time, so I borrowed this old clunker of a bike. Like an old butcher's bike, like clunky old thing. And so I cycled backwards and forwards to the lab every day, and then so I ended up, kind of still running, still playing football, play a little bit of volleyball, and riding this old clunker of a bike. Football's one of those funny things, right? In Europe, you play in the wintertime. In the summertime, you don't do anything. And at the time, so real history lesson for you here. So this goes way back. This was in 1987. So the British Triathlon Union, I think, had about 200 members.
Okay.
I don't know how many tens of thousands they have now, but so I saw this sport called triathlon. And I thought, hey, I can ride a bike, right? I ride my butcher's bike, 10 miles a day. I'm awesome at this.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I'm going to get into this thing called triathlon. So it was a great summer sport if you were a footballer.
Okay.
And this was a great way to stay fit over the summer, to keep moving, keep doing stuff. And so that's exactly what I did. I signed up for my first triathlon in 1987, and I got into this thing. Never, I don't think I'd ever, obviously hadn't put on a wetsuit ever in my life. Didn't really know
Yeah.
what I was doing. Ended up in the national championships in a town called Canterbury,
Okay.
in England, pretty close to London, I guess. And again, had no idea what I was doing. It's like swimming in the North Sea. There was like penguins on the beach wearing scarves and stuff. Just kind of like awful. But of course, I'm too stupid at the time and inexperienced to know what we know that I shouldn't probably do this. So I go ahead and do it anyway. So that was the
Yep.
start of my endurance career, if you like.
Yep.
And so over the next goodness knows how many years, I kept playing football
Yep.
in the wintertime, and then in the summertime, I would basically do triathlon. Thought this was kind of cool. Was just getting involved in it, and loved it. Running, biking, swimming. I never liked, still hate, as you know.
Yep.
Um, but there was a sort of necessary evil if I wanted to keep doing this thing.
For sure.
And so yeah, triathlon was kind of my first endurance sport, if you like, if you don't count football.
Yep.
And since then, I've sort of gotten more into running, done a bunch of marathons, and I'm now sort of embarking on this, like, fast forward 35 years now, I'm like an ultra runner, right?
Yep. Yep.
I'm a sort of has been triathlete and wannabe ultra runner.
I kind of sort of once a triathlete, always a triathlete, kind of deal. But you're just kind of that overall endurance athlete. But yeah, so like going back, I mean, from 1987 to 2018, 31 years, you were dabbling in triathlon, a lot of footballing, but you also kind of start you launched you launched your your fitness brand and company, if you will, and you kind of you had this good mate, Leslie Patterson, who how you guys get connected, and kind of talk us through the, like, because you're now pretty much a full-time endurance sport coach, and corporate fitness wellness coach. So how did those aspects of your life kind of meld together? Like, tell us the origin of that story.
Yeah, so having studied exercise physiology, so I went down this road of academia, and I was sort of thinking, well, I'll stay in university, I'll do my master's, I'll do my PhD, I'll kind of stay in that world. It's fascinating. When I was doing my master's, I was working with the British Women's Marathon Squad. I was working with a team of cyclists. We had these big wood weight treadmills, these ones with like the huge 3-meter belt.
Yep.
We put bikes on the treadmill.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we concocted these like cool little pulley systems to pull the bike backwards so that we could overcome rolling resistance, and just fascinating stuff, and absolutely loved it. But at the time, all of my friends were getting these things called jobs, and making money. And here was I as a graduate student. I think the first grant scholarship I got for that master's teaching assistantship was £3,100 per year.
Right.
And so, and I saw all my friends doing all this other stuff. So I thought, hey, I can't stay in this world. I got to go and do like a real job. So,
Right.
I basically, leave the master's, end up getting into, lots and lots of different things, just job wise. I didn't want to work in a health club. So I ended up with like a bunch of real jobs. I was in the food industry for a while. I was in finance for a while. But always I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to do what I was doing.
Yeah.
but at the same time make some money. So it was kind of interesting. When I was doing my master's, I was working with this PhD student, and he signed up for this thing called the Stoke Marathon, the Stoke-on-Trent Marathon. And he came to me and he said, "Hey, will you coach me for this?" And I said, look, I'm a physiologist. I don't really know that much about the whole sort of, coaching training. I mean, I know theoretically how to do it, but never done it before. And he said, "No, come on, like you're great at this stuff. You know all this,
Hmm.
put it together." And so I ended up like not only coaching him for this marathon, but doing the marathon as well. My first marathon.
Yep.
And it was funny back in those days. I don't even think Gatorade had been invented back then. We had like 2 aid stations with water. That was kind
Yep.
of so anyway, so that was kind of like me starting coaching. And so what I ended up doing through most of my life, most of my professional life, or at least for the next sort of 15 or 20 years,
Yep.
was have a real job,
Yep.
but then continue to coach people, help people, sort of on the side, if you like, stayed up to date with kind of all the research on physiology, what was going
Hmm.
on in the endurance world, and sort of kept coaching. So then get all the way to I guess maybe 2005, 2006, something like that.
Yep.
I had just moved to Colorado. I've lived in various different places. I lived in Costa Rica for 10 years.
Yep.
I just moved to Colorado 2006. And so I was still coaching, and I still kind of had a job. Ended up getting a job at Training Peaks.
Ah.
Yeah, I actually worked there for a year. I was business development director there, and met a whole bunch of other coaches, and really started to plan at that point, kind of how you could run a coaching business and potentially make money doing that.
Yep.
Uh, and so fast forward a couple of years from there, maybe 2010, 11, something like that, I think, I met Leslie Patterson.
Yep. Yep.
She was coaching already, obviously. She was, as you know, world champion Xterra
Yep.
racer. And I just like called her up one day, or sent her a message, a text message or something. She called me back straight away. And then we just launched into this like hours long conversation, in Scottish, right? Talking in a normal accents that things that you people wouldn't understand. So we developed this just lovely relationship. I mean, and it continues obviously to the present day, and we can talk a little bit
Yep.
more about that later. But
Yep.
so we decided that let's push this brand, the Braveheart brand. She would kind of run her business out on the West Coast. I would do mine here in Colorado. We would
Yep.
communicate, keep talking. We'd run a coaching camp every year down in San Diego, which we've continued to do. Just had our camp a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
And we're continuing to do that, and we still have huge plans for the Braveheart brand now. Just here, I'll do a little shout out for Leslie now. She's just been nominated for an Oscar,
Yep.
which is an interesting little twist, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
In our worlds. So she had actually studied theater in college, and she'd always wanted to do that. And so long story short, she bought the rights together with another friend of ours to the book All Quiet on the Western Front. And this was 15, 16 years ago. Wrote the screenplay and adapted screenplay, and has been, pitching it, trying to sell it, blah, 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 during the years. And a few years ago, Netflix picked it up,
Yep.
and she's just been nominated for an Oscar in Best Adapted Screenplay category. So that's just amazing, huge, incredible. But we continue to coach. We coach together. We're growing the brand together. There are some cool things coming down the pipeline, sort of tying the Braveheart brand together with her story, her personal story.
Yeah.
Right? Just sort of tenacity and never give up, and
Yep.
things that really go together with endurance sport. I mean, man, if anybody knows about tenacity, never give up, it's you, dude. And so working with Leslie, And so then, of course, get a chance to meet you. So basically, how that went was,
Yeah, let tell tell that story. I want to hear that story from your perspective.
well, yeah. So what was kind of interesting was in 2017 at our camp, or actually just before our Braveheart camp, I had gone down to San Diego a few days early, and I had done some coaching at Amy Dixon's camp.
Yep.
And so that was my first foray into the whole world of visually impaired athletes.
Yep.
And I just thought, oh man, this is cool. This is crazy. These people are absolutely nuts. Uh, so we were staying at the Olympic Center down in Chula Vista. So doing some work for Amy.
Yep.
Met some cool people. Met David Brown. 100
Yep.
meters. Guy. Yvonne Mosquera. I don't know if you know Yvonne.
Yep. Yep. I know. Yeah, we haven't met in person, but I know her. Yep.
Yeah, super cool lady. She like ran 1,500 meters or whatever. Because I got my wife Muriel there at the time. Muriel was the only one fast enough to do track repeats with Yvonne. Everybody else was avoiding it because we're like, hey, I want to do some repeats, and Yvonne's like, yeah, I'll do some, and we're kind of like, well, what pace are you running at? She's kind of like 6:30 maybe, and I'm like, I just pulled a hammy. So so we get, go, and Muriel, off you go. And they had fun doing that anyway. So that was an amazing sort of weekend for me, kind of doing that. So didn't think much about it after that. Sort of kept in touch with Amy and was kind of like, hey, I would love to, continue doing something in this world because it's kind of cool. And so then one day, I guess, and it must have been early 2018, maybe.
Yep.
Leslie calls me up, and whenever Leslie calls me, it's like she wants something, right? Yeah, it's just how it goes.
Usually the case. Usually the case. For me, like, if Leslie calls me, I know I have to answer, but then it's usually a butt dial for me. So I'm like, hey, what the hell?
Oh, right. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, like so no, but it was so cool. So she's like, hey, I'm coaching this athlete. His name's Carl Kuhn. I'm like, so, and he's completely fine. And I'm thinking, maybe we should just talk a little bit about, coaching and, whatever. And she's like, hey, yeah, no, he wants to do Ironman Arizona this year, and you're the perfect guy to guide him for that. So what do you think? And it's like one of those things in life, actually, and I've been guilty of this my whole life because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, I have to say.
Yep.
And it annoys me, right? And so you end up, if you think too long about something, you don't do it. That's the classic, and paralysis by analysis, right?
Yep.
And of course, I'd never really done any serious guiding. That a little bit at the camp that time, but nothing. Had never been on a tandem bike. Never.
Yeah.
Being tied to someone in a swimming pool. Hoping they wouldn't drown me. Never sort of been in that situation before. And it just, I had just done Ironman Arizona.
Yeah.
I had actually done it in 2017. You were there too, but we didn't know that.
We didn't cross paths, and we didn't know each other. So.
We didn't know each other. That's because I was so far ahead of you, mate.
That is true.
So I just come up Arizona, and when she said Arizona, immediately my eyes kind of lit up anyway because I'd done it in 2011, 2013, 2015, 2017.
It's one of your favorite
and
races.
I was typically always, I love the town. It's kind of it's so cool. The race itself is easy relatively, right?
Yep.
As far as just the logistics and the course, and for spectators, it's just lovely. And so I would typically go back on the even years to volunteer. And a part of that started because, like, back in the good old halcyon days of Ironman, when there weren't that many races out there, Ironman Arizona would sell out in about an hour the morning after the race.
Yep.
Yeah. So, so basically what you did was you went there. So, I go in 2010, I volunteer. The morning after the race, there's a big line of volunteers, and they get to go to the tent, they get to register, sign up. So by 9 o'clock in the morning following that year's race, you're in for next year, right? You have to make a
Yep.
decision, pay your money, and you're done.
Yep.
So I would typically go back and I would typically volunteer. So 2018, of course, I was due to go back and volunteer.
Yeah.
And so, I guess Leslie must have caught me on just one of those days where I was like feeling happy, which were a grumpy, cantankerous old Scotsman.
Yeah.
That's sort of few and far between.
Yep.
And I just immediately said, yes, that sounds amazing. Put the phone down and thought, what the fuck have I just done? Like crap. And I start talking to Muriel. Like, what? I don't know how to do this. I have no clue how to do this.
Yep.
But I'd be interested to hear, why you asked Leslie for a guide and how it ended up being me, or did you suggest me, or where did that come from?
Yeah, no. So it's actually, just weird because so I met Leslie at Amy's camp in 2018 because Leslie and Simon did a talk, and they had just released their book. I can't even, drawing a blank on the name of the book. Everyone remembers the subtitle, which is calm the fuck down and rise to the occasion, or whatever it is like that. But so Simon and Leslie do this talk, and I start chatting with Leslie afterward, and after the camp I reached out to her, and she sold me on her coaching me in about 15 minutes of being on the phone together.
Yep.
And I told her my goal, I laid out my plans and my goals for 2018, and those plans and goals included doing the Boston Marathon, competing as as someone on a team for a race across America, and then also doing a 70.3, and I really wanted to do Ironman Arizona, and I wanted to break 11 hours because no totally blind person had gone under 11 hours for an official Ironman at that point. And I was like, look, I literally do not know anyone that can guide me, that is strong enough to do a sub 11-hour Ironman. Do you know of anyone? And she was like, oh, guy, let me reach out to him. And so at the time, until she I think she texted me or emailed me or something and was like, hey, my buddy Alan, he's super fit, he eats sub 11-hour Ironmans for lunch. I think you guys would be the perfect match. Here's his number, give him a call. And so I think that's kind of how it happened from my perspective. And then I think I just called you up, and I think we both realized that we were gonna be in Boston. That's when we decided, well, before we actually commit to doing this, we should probably meet in person. So that's how I remember it. And if I remember correctly, we met over a beer in a pub in Boston, right?
That was so cool. Yeah, of course. Yeah, Irish pub, right? We, again, so one of my kind of like race superstitions is I like a pint of Guinness the day before a race.
Yep.
And so I mean, of course, it turns out that we had some other sort of commonalities in the fact that your parents live up in the Aspen Valley, and my wife grew up there. So that was going to be another opportunity for us to sort of meet, get together, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah. Boston was so cool because, of course, turned out that Muriel and I were both racing at Boston that year.
Yep.
And you were there. So yeah, we were like, hey, yeah, let's meet. We're gonna meet. Well, yeah, I'm Scottish. We're in Boston with Irish pubs everywhere. Let's have
Yeah.
a beer, of course.
Yeah.
And so that was really cool. So you came in at that point. We're kind of chatting, and it was kind of a, kind of a stilted conversation because there was
Sure.
like 7 or 8 other people at the table.
Totally.
And so it wasn't kind of like we could just have our own little chit chat about Ironman because
Yeah.
we were there to run the Boston Marathon.
Yep.
And of course, the big topic of conversation that year was like, this weather is truly fucking abysmal.
Oh my God, it was fucking miserable.
Which was super funny on race day because
Yep.
that was the year Desi Linden won
Yes.
the women's race, and the Japanese school teacher won the men's race.
Yep.
Basically because out of the sort of 50 or 60 Kenyans and Ethiopians in the race, like I think 2 of them finished.
Yeah, everyone wussed out.
Yeah, no, it's here literally. They just were like, no, we're not. I think at one point there was like sort of 1,500 people in the med tent because it was so miserably cold. Just a quick story about the race itself. Like Muriel and I had gone to Goodwill the day before the race.
Yep.
And we had bought these like sweatpants and hoodies and like rain jacket and all kinds of stuff, because we hadn't taken a lot of that stuff with us, and we're just like, we'll buy some throwaway stuff. And so it was absolutely freezing cold that morning. It must have been like in the high 30s or something, but just raining miserably.
Yep.
The wind. And so we are, all waiting in that staging area. I mean, you probably had like some VIP staging or some shit with couches and heaters and crap.
We were all crammed into some eye doctor's office, like right at the start line. We were kind of, it was kind of luxurious actually.
We were standing out in the pissing rain, just getting wet, and so we've got all this gear on. And so we're like, should we take it off right at the start, like you normally would for a race, right? You get rid of all this stuff. And we're like, no, fuck that. It's like freezing. So we kept all this shit on. So we're like 2 miles into the race, and all of this stuff, the sweatpants and all that is like heavy cotton. We're like, we're weighing like 12 pounds extra with all this shit on. So like about 2 miles in, we had to just dump it all. We took it all off. And for the next like 2 miles, I think we were just like, seriously on the verge of dying from hypothermia.
Yep.
But then we kept running, and running with someone like that, running with Muriel, she's just the love of my life, right? I just love her.
Absolutely.
And we're just laughing, and it was funny because every time I said, come on, weather, is that all you got? It came down harder.
Yep.
And it was like, I was joking. Honestly, I was joking. I don't, so yeah, just running that race. So of course, then we had said to you, the day before, hey, our hotel room is like, right next to the finish line. If at the end of the race, you guys come over there. So then the next time, of course, I met you was you came over to my hotel room to dump all your fucking wet clothes on my floor and use all my hot water in the shower.
Yep. Hey, you had already taken your shower. Quit complaining.
Well, that's true. I did. Well, because I finished like an hour before you or some shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I was slow back then, man.
You were slow back then. You're not slow anymore. Then that's one of the coolest things about this whole story. Is that you were kind of half of an athlete at one point.
Yeah, I was definitely half an athlete.
You were half an athlete, and now you're just like a real athlete in every sense of the word. But yeah, so Boston was such a fun time. And then I think sort of moving on from there, I think what was good and what was bad about planning then for Arizona was that we had sort of great plans about how cool it would be if we could run together all the time and bike together all the time and swim together all the time. And I think we ended up like doing that like 3 times.
I think so. well, so so I finish Boston, then I go and I do I go and do this race across America thing, and I unfortunately crash my bike, and I basically break my elbow. And and you know, you were you came up to, did you run the Aspen Valley Marathon that year, or did Muriel run it, or you
I
guys were up in town for it for some reason?
Yeah, I think Muriel was pacing, and I think I decided to run. Either I ran the full or I ran the half. I can't remember, but
Yeah,
yeah, we did run it.
yeah. And so I remember, we had planned on, either run, maybe trying to get you on the front of the tandem at that point, or running or biking or something. But I, like, my elbow was, it was kind of messed up, and I was, still mentally recovering from, from Ram. And I remember we went and grabbed a beer at a restaurant after the race. And I remember you basically telling me to, quit being a wussy and get on the bike trainer, because you told me a story about when you had to go pick Leslie up at an ER or something when she had broken both wrists. And so I was like, well, I can't be a wussy. This guy's gonna think I'm not gonna be able to complete Arizona in a couple of months. So that's what kind of kicked my butt back into gear and got me back on the trainer. But then I think it was a month later we decided to go to USA Triathlon camp at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, and that was your first time on the front of a tandem. And so we swam, biked, and ran a handful of times that week. Then I think we got on the bike like 3 more times after that.
Yeah, and that was a scary weekend for me because that was that first opportunity for me to
Yep.
really swim, bike, and run with you. And really humbling experience for someone like me. I mean, not that I'm some kind of amazing dude or whatever, but in the triathlon world, if you have the best part of 30 years worth of experience, and you've done 100 triathlons and mountain bike races, and
Yep.
you've done a dozen Ironman races, or whatever it is, and you're just you think a little bit about the sport.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I have to come and I have to do the sport with somebody else, right? I have to do it with
Yep.
you.
Yep.
And I have to figure out how to do it with you. And I have to figure out how to ride a tandem bike. And, I thought, well, I kind of know my way around a bike, and I kind of know what I'm doing. And from the moment I got on that tandem with you, I was shit scared. And that continued all the way right through to the last time I was on that tandem with you, which was, finishing the bike leg at Ironman Arizona.
Yep.
So never in that whole time was I ever comfortable,
Yep.
riding that fucking old clunker. That was like a butcher bike, that one.
It really was.
And so, but that weekend was an amazing weekend. So again, kind of getting to know you, getting to know other visually impaired athletes, and kind of
Yep.
learning just about how you guys train and how you do what you do. Get an opportunity to talk to you about your training, and just being kind of blown away by a lot of the things I think in your training are things that normal people, quote unquote, don't
Yep.
think about, right?
Yep.
Like obviously, you're biking on the trainer, right? That's your world.
Yeah.
I remember you training for Ironman Arizona with these, crazy 3-hour, 4-hour trainer sessions.
Dude, Leslie had me on there were a couple times Leslie had me on the trainer for 6 hours. It was miserable.
6 hours, Leslie, Jesus Christ. Honestly, and again, and for you sitting in your garage, or your parents' garage, sitting up there,
Yep.
I saw that whole setup. You're sitting there, I don't know what you're doing, listening to whatever you're listening to, but fuck me, that's incredible. The mental strength to be able to do something like that. And then obviously the treadmill work, if you can't get a guy, somebody to come run with you,
Yep.
and then the swimming pool stuff. And the swimming pool stuff is always funny because I use, when I talk to people and do talks and stuff about triathlon, I talk about, overcoming, obstacles and everything. And
Yep.
I'm like, oh, my friend Carl Coon, he swims a lot and he swims super fast. Do you know how he knows when he gets to the end of the pool? And everyone's like, how? They're waiting for like some sophisticated, oh, there's a beeping system. Well, like nowadays they
Yep.
do have those systems, right? But there's a beeping system and there's the lasers and there's a, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
no, he bangs his fucking noggin on the end of the pool. That's how he
Yeah.
knows he got there and he's got to turn around.
Yep.
And so just kind of hearing some of those things from you and seeing some of it in the springs and that on that USABA weekend,
Yep.
again, just amazing for me, like humbling as all get at. But just really kind of gave me the impetus to be like, well, shit, I cannot fuck this up. I have to do something. But it's still then at that point, we still didn't train enough, right?
No. No.
I mean, this race, I can't believe how well we did, given how unprepared we were.
It's honestly pretty amazing. So go ahead and I mean, I have told the story, I don't know how many times now of Ironman Arizona 2018, but we got to hear the story from you, man, because it was a wild ride.
It's one of my best days in triathlon. It's funny. I was listening to your previous podcast with Mike and with Will.
Yeah.
And I thought the same thing, because I think both of them gave up triathlon after racing with you, and I did too.
Yes.
I mean, you single-handedly put the three of us out of the sport.
I kind of did.
But for me, it was for a really great reason. I haven't actually been back in triathlon since then. I got into ultra running, but also because it felt like an amazing opportunity for me to stop and take a break and kind of look back and say, hey, that was my favorite race of all time. Was just kind of being there with you and like not even having my name in the start list, it was like nothing to do with me. It was all about you. And I just thought, this is so cool. And so the race itself, it was like, I remember, that morning kind of getting up, and again, I'm trying to be sort of cool and everything, but I'm still shit scared about everything that's going to happen. Because I think the first time we had done open water swimming was the day before.
Yes, I think so.
Right, because we had gone down there the day before. You had done some TV interview or something down by Tempe Town Lake, but we had gone to do the practice swim, and that was the first time we've been there. And I was all kind of like, hey, let's just do a couple 100 yards, because I was so scared, and I thought, well, shit, if I do any more than that, and I realize that this is going to be hard, I'm going to be even more scared than I was already.
Yep.
And so, but anyway, race morning comes. At that point, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling strong. I remember we were standing, we got that year to start right after the pros.
Yep.
Which is going on. And Mike Riley was there, and I was talking to Mike. Mike's kind of a friend of mine. Yep. We're just chatting away, and he's, saying good luck and blah, blah, blah. But it's still dark at that time in the morning. At the start of that particular race, or at least it was at the time.
Yep.
But what was interesting that year was that they had changed the swim course.
Yes.
So different. So in my mind, and I don't know why I didn't know this. Like you're supposed to prepare for races, right?
Yeah, I suppose to, but
right. Yeah, but whatever. But of course I had done Arizona 4 times. I had been down there 4 times and spectated, and so I'd seen everybody do this lovely swim, this nice anti-clockwise swim, right?
Yep.
Which is super cool for swimming with you, because like you're swimming on my right hand side, right?
Yep.
So because we're breathing to that side. So again, for people who are not sort of familiar with this, like you're swimming with a visually impaired a swimmer, and you've got this sort of tether, and you tether at the waist, and you tether at the thigh as well, kind of like so that you're not, so you don't have a the tether between you to affect your stroke. So the tether's
Yep.
further down,
Yep.
right? So you're tied together. And it's actually kind of nice if you're going anti-clockwise, if you're a visually impaired swimmer is on your right, because as you start to pull away and make the turn, they feel the pull on the tether
Yep.
and they swim in that direction.
Yep.
But of course, no, that was not to be for us, right?
No. No.
So the swim now was going to go the other way. It was starting further to the west in the lake, and it was going the other way, and then coming out, much further over to the east, and then with a big long transition.
Oh. Yep.
And so basically, the turns. I mean, thankfully there weren't that many turns.
Yeah. I think there were like maybe 3 or 4 turns on the entire thing.
Yeah, which was great. So big long stretches, which is wonderful. So on the turns, basically, I was just like punching you in the face, saying,
yeah, pretty much
over there. Yeah,
yep.
Get in your own fucking lane, dude.
Yep.
And so doing that, and then having so little open water experience, I had no idea that people would literally keep trying to swim between us.
Yep.
Of course, this is not news to you, right? You've done this, so many times, 100 times, and
yep.
you know what happens. I think it was Mike who was talking about, people like trying to run between you, like during the run, right? When you're doing 10K runs and stuff with lots of people. Like, I mean, that's just dumb. But I never thought about it in the open water, because of course that makes a lot of sense, especially at Ironman, because you have 2,000 people. And so people just keep coming, trying to swim in between us, and it's hard to talk to people in the water.
It's a little challenging.
You just have to kind of let it play out, which is funny. Because all of a sudden you've got, oh, hi there. You've got a sandwich with somebody else, and then, but anyway, I thought, the swim, I think we both got out of the water, and when we realized how slow we were, I think we were both a little surprised.
Yeah. Well, because that year in particular, I mean, like, the water was cold. Like, it was cold. Like, that water was so cold. And like, I think we swam like 10 or 15 minutes slower than we thought we were going to. And like, I mean, I remember getting out of the water and like, I couldn't feel my feet. And so like, it was just, oof, man. Like, what is it with us in cold races? Like we did Boston, and then we go and do Arizona. Like, I mean, what the hell, man?
Yeah, no, I mean, cold water, does end up being a little slower, just to swim in, essentially. There's a little bit of a breeze going, but I just don't know, because I felt like we had a super smooth swim.
Oh yeah, no.
And we really got into a pretty good rhythm. Our swim strokes are pretty similar and cadence.
Yep.
So yeah, it just felt kind of great. And like you say, normally I'm in that sort of 105 to 110 range for the Ironman, and we ended up. I think you clocked it at like, or the race clocked us at 117 something
like that.
Yeah, so it wasn't horrible, but it's kind of like, okay, we probably should have gone a little faster, but that's just the way it is. But then it was a long ass run, if you remember. Out of the water there, because they really had moved that swim exit. It was really quite a ways away from that little park where the bike was, bike transition, and we were at the absolute other end of the bike transition area as well. So getting over there, and just being cold, just kind of like, oh, this is just pretty miserable. It's still, the sun's just coming up at that point. You can't really feel the sun. But you're coming out, the water was definitely cold. You're coming out, you got your bike kit on under again, people who don't know, you're wearing your sort of thin lycra stuff underneath your wetsuit, but of course it's soaking wet by the time you get out. And the air temperature is probably low 40s, but now you're just soaking wet, and you have to go and get on the bike. So I was dreading. I wasn't really dreading the swim, you know, and definitely wasn't dreading the run because I knew we were just going to have some fun in that.
Yeah.
But the bike again, I was nervous. I was, you know, apprehensive, and you know, and I think, you know, overall the bike went okay. But here's my biggest story about the bike, and the biggest takeaway about the bike, and this came back to bite me in the arse on the run.
Yeah.
I didn't eat a thing
No.
during the whole bike. Right. So you know, so basically, when I'm coaching people and coaching a lot of Ironman athletes, you know, one of the things that I say to people all is like, apart from like don't drown, don't crash, and don't walk,
Yeah.
is eat all day.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of the thing about an Ironman. If you kind of do the math and look at some of the, you know, the numbers on calorie deficits and all this kind of stuff, basically you're, you know, burning through during the course of the day 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 calories, right? Whatever it might
Yep.
be.
Yep.
So one of the things you got to do is you got to take advantage of being on the bike
Yeah.
to eat, right?
Yep.
Whatever it is for you, whether it's crustables or sandwiches or energy bars or gels or all of the above, is
Yep.
eat. But so so now, you know, sort of alluded to this earlier about this clunker butcher tandem of yours. So this thing was like it just didn't fit me, right?
No.
At all.
No.
Okay. And so I'm kind of bunched up on this thing. It just wasn't quite long enough, that cockpit area for me. You know, I mean, Kyle already had his nose up my arse. So you know, I couldn't get any further back. I couldn't move the handlebars any further forward, and so I just kind of stuck in this sort of hunched over position, which definitely affected my bike power. Right, that hip angle.
Oh yeah.
Weird. Really couldn't push the way I wanted to push, but.
Yep.
But the biggest thing is just steering. You know, the balance of the bike was a little off because I'm, you know, so big and heavy. I mean, both of us pretty heavy, right? We're both at the time probably
bigger dudes.
Yeah, but you know, we're both a $175.
Yeah.
You know, pushing kind of, you know, 200, 210, 220 watts average for something like that.
Yep.
You know, so it's a big, powerful machine. The problem in it goes pretty fast. But the problem then is that I'm sitting there like just unbalanced.
Yeah.
And so I had this idea that, you know, I'd be good, right? I'd be able to keep reaching into my pocket and keep eating this and eating that and whatever. And realize that every time I even tried to take my one hand off the bars, that it just got shaky. And there really just wasn't a good stretch of time when, you know, we were moving at a reasonable speed, you know, because one of the problems is when you slow down, it's because you're going up those hills.
Yep.
Right. And so that you're breathing a little harder. So it's not a good time to eat anyway. Now when you're coming down the hill, you're going too fast, and the chance of a major wipeout is too great.
Yeah.
So so I had all this in my mind, and I just thought, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to get through this. You know, I'll, you know, whenever we get a chance to stop for a second or two, you know, at special needs or whatever, I'll try to down some Gatorade, and then I'll be totally fine.
Yeah.
But I ended up having like a shoe problem. The buckle on my shoe strap came off, and so my shoe was almost coming anyway. So
yeah, we had some brake rubbing the entire time.
It was the whole time. It was like squeaking,
it was a shit show,
because we stopped
shit show of a bike ride.
Yeah, we stopped twice, I think, to try to do something about the brake.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember when we were kind of putting that bike together in your garage, you know, having to pull out a big fucking hammer mallet thing to try to, you know, hammer the chain ring in the shape. Yep. It was all bent.
Oh yeah.
It
was messed up.
We're gonna write an Ironman on this thing? Like, yeah, sure. Let's do it. You know, and that thing must have weighed what, 45 pounds or whatever. I don't know.
Oh, maybe 60. I don't know. That thing was heavy.
Dude. So, you know, between, you know, two of us at 350 pounds plus that thing going up some of those hills, you know,
fun times.
And it was quite the event. Yeah, no, anyway, so I think again, in the end, we did about as good as we probably could have given the bike and the training that we did, you know, and we ended up with a 518 or something.
I think right on the nose. Yeah. 518-ish.
Yeah, which ended up being, it was pretty cool. It's a pretty reasonable Ironman,
Yeah.
right?
It's a reasonable bike split.
Yeah. So
So,
we came off, had a pretty good transition, about a sort of 4 minute transition, which was
yep.
great. And we get out of then we start running. And yeah, now it's fun, right? Like any Ironman, it's fun,
Yep.
right? You
Yep.
get on the, I mean, I know people dread the run because you're
Oh
tired
God, I
and that
love
kind
the
of stuff.
run. Yep.
Yeah, me too. And you're just kind of like, finally, you get the bike, get rid of the bike and the helmets and the bike shoes, and just now you just got your running shoes on, right? Now off you
Yep.
go. And it was a nice day. The weather was fine. It was pretty perfect. And
Yep.
we're running, and of course, on the first 2, 3, 4, 5 miles, we're just passing a lot of people,
Yep.
kind of having some fun with it. And we got to about 10, 11 miles. And at that point, I realized that I was bonking hard, dude.
You didn't
just
show,
like,
but
oh, I'm just like, no, I remember saying to you coming at, it was around about the halfway point, maybe 11, 12 mile aid station, something like that. I remember saying to you, I'm going to have to, just eat here for a while.
yeah.
And, so we really took our time through that aid station. I remember
Yep.
sort of starting at one end of the tables, with pretzels and chips, and then going
Yep.
to oranges, and then bananas, and then gels,
Yep.
and then Gatorade.
Yep.
If they'd had a cheeseburger, I would have had it.
Exactly.
um, and then from there, it actually just felt pretty good. It took me another mile or two for all that to kind of settle in, and kind of got my mojo back at that point, and then at that point it was chasing 11 hours.
Yeah.
Which was fun. It was, I mean, I think, we would have loved to have gone, to the 1040, get the record, right?
Yeah.
For any visually impaired, but that it wasn't going to happen on that particular day. But
No.
11 hours was still there, was still within our grasp, and
Yep.
it reminded me of that, because that year Muriel had run the Leadville 100.
Yep.
And I remember kind of having a similar-ish conversation with her when I paced her for the last little stretch of the 100, because she was running so well. And I said to her, she wanted to break 25 hours to get a big buckle.
Yep.
And she was on course to break 24 hours. And I remember when I started with her, and I said, how much do you want to break 24? And she
Yep.
said something along the lines of a fucking hell of a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and so off we ran to do it. And I remember saying something similar to you. It was like, how much do you want to break 11 hours? And you saying something similar, right? Like,
Yep.
let's fucking do this.
Yep.
And so that was, and I said to you, I remember, because when I run, I do the math, right? I remember saying
Yeah.
to you, we have to average like 924s or something like that.
Yeah.
And I said, do you got this? And you're like, yep, I got this. And that was it. And we didn't waste time in any more aid stations after that.
Yep.
Really, we're just like, look, we can't waste time with these aid stations. I'll get water for you. I'll try to grab two. I'll give you one, or I'll grab Gatorade. Yep. And we're just gonna run, dude. We're just gonna run. And that's what we did. And and we just like boom, boom, just run, kept going, kept moving. I'm looking at my watch. We're getting closer. I'm feeling good about this, feeling great, man. And we did it.
Snuck under it.
Did it.
We got it, man.
And so the marathon ended up being like a 4:09.
Yep.
Which is a solid Ironman marathon, dude.
Yeah.
There aren't that many folks going much faster than that.
Yep.
And I remember the last 2 or 3 miles. I don't think we said a word the last 2 or 3 miles other than let's just keep going.
Yeah, pretty much. I know. Oh.
Sort of came around that last band, and at that point I'm just like, yeah, we're gonna do this shit. And I remember Mike calling out something along the lines of a North American record or something.
Yeah.
So I ended up with 10:57, which and like I said, just my favorite ever triathlon of all the ones I've ever done. That was it. And I remember getting across the finish line, watching the video afterwards, you had turned to me straight after the line to give me a hug, and I was doubled over.
Yep.
So it just took me a second or two to get back up, and then just give you the biggest fucking hug of my life,
Oh yeah.
for pulling me through, that whole day. And then like, the rest of that night and everything was just, it was special. It was great. Your family was there.
Yep.
Um,
We drank a
yeah,
lot of beer. We drank a lot of beer that night.
drank a lot of
It
beer, ate a
was,
lot of food,
oh
right?
yeah, we ate a
Good
lot of food.
recovery stuff.
Yep. That was awesome.
Yeah, and I just thought, man, what an absolutely amazing experience. And like, and so I'll tell anybody, from that day onwards, like, if you ever get a chance to do something like that, whether it's, guiding for visually impaired athlete or any kind of other disabled athlete, push a wheelchair, if you ever get a chance to go pace for someone at 100-mile race or something, don't
Yep.
think about it. Just
Yep.
go do it.
Yep.
Right? Because you will just get so much out of it that you'll never forget the experience. It'll teach you a lot as a human being. Just do it. Just do it. That's my final word on the subject.
Yeah, man. I can't agree more. I mean, because the more people that get out and just do it, it's it's cliche, but man, it's. I mean, I personally, well, I'll never do a triathlon without without a guide, and I mean, to this day, that race in particular, Arizona 18 was, man, that was something special because like I mean we, I worked my butt off, but just you know being there doing it with you, and then we've gone on to have just a great great friendship after that. You taught me actually how to drink and enjoy whiskey. And then there through you know you and Muriel find out you're having no you're having kids, and all this all this crazy stuff. So you're venturing into territory that it's just it's really amazing. And now you're going on, and as an old fart you're going, and you still haven't run that 100-miler, but you're going to at some point, I know. So but yeah, man, like, whew, man. So like, what is next for you? You said you kind of retired from triathlon 5 years ago. But like, what's kind of next on your radar?
Well, a lot of exciting things going on right now in my world. I've got, at 57 years old, I've got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. That kind of keeps me going, keeps me young.
Yep.
I am doing that 100-miler this year. I'm signed up for Leadville.
Nice. Finally.
Yeah, so that's on the cards now. I'm definitely in and training hard for that.
Yep.
Coaching stuff is amazing right now. Leslie and I are talking about a lot of really cool things, tying it into her sort of career and kind of where she's going with the whole film stuff. But it's still a big brand. We still have 70, 80 athletes between us. We're trying to sort of grow that. So I just keep going, dude. I just keep going. I do want to say I'm just incredibly proud of you. After that 2018 race, you sort of said, "Hey, I'm shooting for the Olympics. I'm, going to go do something else now." And man, you did, right? You took your whole athletic career to a whole new level after that. I like to think that maybe what I did or what we did that day was a little bit of an impetus for you to sort of go on and take it to that next level, and you absolutely did. So just huge kudos and congrats to you for becoming an Olympian. And I know that you're going to go back to Paris and you're going to kick some ass there too.
Thanks, mate.
And then as Will was saying on the last podcast, you guys should go back and listen to it if you didn't already listen to Will Fisher. I am in for that run rabbit, dude.
Yeah.
When you then, after Paris 24, when you then go and do your 100-miler,
Yep.
it's people like Mike and Will and me and Muriel right? Because Muriel has done Run Rabbit,
Yep.
so she knows what she's doing. I'll be a
Oh yeah.
100-mile alum by then. Will's done a
Yep.
bunch, 10, 100-milers.
Yep.
So you've got a whole lot of people that are going to force your fat ass to get up and over the mountain. So, like, dude, you better keep training because, like, we're not done. You and me, dude,
No,
we're not done.
we're not done. We're
We're
not done.
not.
We may have only run together like once in the last 5 years, but we ain't done.
We
And
ain't done. No, correct.
and that one run we did do together. We made a promise. We ain't done. We got a lot of shit left to do.
Yeah, we do.
Oh man, I'm excited. I'm pumped, and yeah, man. And maybe next time we have you on the podcast, we gotta, we'll have you tell the story of you and Muriel as well, because that's a funny story of
I have a lot of stories, dude. So yeah,
yeah, lots. We gotta dive into more and more stories, but because yeah, you're gonna be back on at some point, so
that'd be
keep your
awesome.
calendar open.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much. I know you're probably itching to go, like, lift some heavy weights, or go for a run, or push the boys in a stroller. So
I have a 10-miler today with the boys in the stroller. That's my plan.
nice,
Yeah.
nice, man, nice. Classic Alan Greening there. But anyway, mate, just thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, bro. It's such a pleasure and an honor to call you a friend, but that word mate just is, yeah, that there's no higher honor that I can give or receive. So thanks, mate.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. Love you, man.
Love you too, bro. All right, everyone. Thanks for again tuning into another episode of Kicking It with the KTrain. Go check out this crazy man, Alan, and and his business partner, Leslie Patterson. Go check them out on, braveheart.com. Braveheart, is it braveheartcolorado.com as well? Yep, that's where they can find you. He's coached Alan has coached my sister through a 100-miler. Obviously Leslie coached me for a while. I mean, these people are top-notch people, great coaches. So thank you so much, Alan, and we will see you all next time on Kicking It with the KTrain. Take it easy.